everyone, Violet here, and I wanted to share with you today some ideas for meal planning. So I'm not going to show these plans in detail exactly. I'm just going to show you some general patterns that I've been following for doing some meal planning. We're going to look at 3 different meal plans that I was working on. Actually 4. Let's look at 4. And perfect. So this is all I'm planning in my Erin Condren Petite Planner that I like to keep in my folio. And I don't actually plan every single week the same, but rather I come up with more like systems that I can then use week to week, if that makes sense, which change depending on my needs of the time. So I'm going to kind of show you some examples of this. I did also want to say that every day in December I am uploading a video for Vlogmas, and it has to do with reflecting on the year before, planning for the year ahead. So if you love planners and planning and also want a little bit of holiday cheer sprinkled in as well, then please subscribe and check out my videos this month. I also have a goal to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, which is a big goal, but it totally helps if you subscribe. So thank you so much. And yeah, let's get into it. So first of all, I wanted to show you with this plan. This plan is kind of focused a bit on meal planning in a way that is as cheap and as healthy as possible. And so with this, a lot of these plans have to do with getting bulk food in like bulk grains, bulk lentils, bulk chickpeas, that sort of a thing, cooking them in a pressure cooker or, crock pot, whatever it is, however you like to do it, but then kind of like rolling these things throughout the week so that you're using up as much as possible, and you're also more like tending towards using the bulk stuff makes it obviously cheaper and healthier. So it's more oriented towards, whole foods, and then like using every bit of everything that you have. So for example, on Tuesdays with making a beans and rice dish, and this is kind of just the base of the dish, so like I can look at this and then be creative on top of it, but making a beans and rice dish and making the beans from the dried beans in the Instant Pot, I save the bean water to use for soup. An example here, making hummus on Friday, I save some of the chickpeas for curry, and then it just like thinking about each day in that way, like how can I use something and then the leftovers can be used the next day. For example, on Monday is making cashew cream, and I can use that for the beans and rice dish on Tuesday. And if you look here on Monday, the lunch of the day is making baked sweet potato with like a spinach salad. This is just an idea, but cashew cream is super good on sweet potato. So you can see how these things can be used for multiple dishes, but looking at them in a way that rolls it into the next day and continues like that, so that your leftovers can become a part of the meal for the next day. And like I said, the focus of this spread is focusing on bulk things and how to use a lot of whole food type ingredients, and this helps to, as easily as possible, use everything that you have. All right, and so then the next meal plan is very similar. However, this is focused on the CSA. So thinking about what foods are in season, looking at the CSA. This was our second year with the CSA, so we remembered here in the early summer we get a ton of leafy greens. And as you can see here, I have the dinners as like different for each day. I've got one day for dining out, but for breakfast, it's like choose one from the following. I kind of use this to make a menu. So this is something you can do in your meal planners that is really awesome. But one thing is that I focused on fruit. That's the goal, focusing on fruit during breakfast, focusing on leafy greens during lunch. And then there's sort of a theme for each dinner as well. So that was my thought process with this. But yeah, those were the 2 points that I wanted to make with this spread. Was if you are using a CSA, kind of thinking about sort of like baseline meals that can use whatever you typically tend to get at that time of year, so it's very seasonal. And then you can kind of like make a menu to choose from each day for breakfast and lunch, depending on what your focus is. So that's my example for that. And now this spread, as you can see, I had to do a lot of editing, so I'm kind of like covered things up. I often black and white just copy this and put it on the fridge, so it didn't really matter. This like lime green didn't show up on the copy machine, but you're seeing it now. The reason why I had to do a lot of edits is because this was a very complex meal plan. So just in case you want to look at it in detail, I'm going to just kind of hold it open for a moment. Make sure you can see it all. But pretty much how this is making staples at home. And instead of using this as like a breakfast, lunch, dinner each day, I crossed out that. I should probably cross out those up there as well. I crossed out the day of the week. I should cross out those, and instead looking at this like a calendar. So you've got 1 through 30 here. And this is basically like a monthly plan. And then I have here on the 31st, take a break. So if there's 31 days in the year, in the month, then you can use the last one to take a break, and that's kind of accounted for here. But what this is making staples, and each day having one task of the day pretty much, or maybe 2 small tasks in order to keep the flow of these consistent. And with all of this, the things that are the staples that are being made are kombucha, sprouts, oh my goodness, I just went like, oh yeah, sourdough bread, let's see, making homemade cashew cheese, oat milk, making no-bake cookies that are kind of like protein bars that are in hand with like oats and peanut butter, making handmade like crust, trying to see if I'm missing anything here. But those things that have to be on certain timelines and schedules that can feel overwhelming, but if you have it kind of all balanced out perfectly, you can really just look at the task of the day and do it, and then all of these things run on schedule. So, oh yeah, hummus and pesto. Just making sure I'm not missing anything. But all of those things that I just listed off are staples in our diet. And some of the things are things that we end up spending a lot of money on sometimes because we just like want to grab them while we're out, such as kombucha. So if we're making it ourselves, then we're saving money. And yeah, it's also just really fun. This is something that if you get off of the schedule, it's difficult to go back on. So it's hard sometimes if you're having to go out of town and such. But I do think that as my baby gets older, this is going to be a fun activity for us, is doing these like daily tasks and kind of like learning how to make everything ourselves. I think that'll be nice for him. Fun for kids. So yeah, that is the concept here. And yeah, I wanted to mention that you could use a weekly spread and actually turn it into a monthly spread. So that's very interesting. And then lastly, as just kind of a bonus, I made an idea for themed dinners, depending on things that we like to eat, but each one is like a different flavor profile or focus. Like we've got like a sushi night, like a Ethiopian, Indian, Mexican, Thai, Mediterranean, Italian, like food groups that we love, and hitting each of those each week. And so I think that would be really fun to, this is something I want to do soon. This is the latest spread that I have made. And then I did the same thing that I did earlier, where I have a breakfast menu options and lunch menu options. And then of course, like making a shopping list and a meal prep strategy depending on what I make each week. So that is my some of my ideas for meal planning. So let me know what you think in the comments below, and thank you so much for being here. Bye.